AI for telecom operators is not something new.
And Gen A, as we speak, has already moved to agentic AI.
Soon you will see the advertisement from the Department of Telecom for funding for the chip.
Very often we forget the importance of the wire line part in the wireless network.
We have a very interesting topic out here, while how India can move from leverage its position as a powerhouse in 5G to be a 6G leader. Lot of talks on 6G is happening not only in India, across the globe. India itself has taken a lead in this. We have our 6G, Bharat 6G vision, which is there. Government is working tirelessly in this particular area. And there is a Bharat 6G alliance which has been formed also between industry, regulators, policymakers, institutions to chart out the path for a leadership role of India in 6G. So I will not waste much time and I will directly start with our panel members. The first question I will have to Vikram, to you. Vikram, 5G was there and it's still here, I will say. We still are trying to figure out what to do with 5G. With a lot of use cases being there which are being tested, still have to see the day of the light. Lot of expectations with 5G was there. Based on your experience and your interaction with the operators in India, how do you think our operators are ready for a leapfrog from 5G to 6G? Specifically, if I talk about the infra and the network side, are they ready, or what needs to be done in this particular area?
So thank you very much. One of the questions is that the variety of Gs, right? So the 5G. Now, where do you consume 5G? Or where did you consume 4G? How did it get delivered to, humanity, let us say? So it's essentially wireless, right? And the wireless form factor in which you consume it is the mobile phone and its various, Is there a different form factor where you will consume the next generation of, let's say, 6G in this case? Any thoughts, any idea? Will it be this? You've seen the tie-up between Meta and Ray-Ban, right? You're already getting a phone call out here, it's got a camera in it. If I look around, I can see things around me. But is that good enough? Does it deliver to humanity the services like transportation, financial transactions, etc.? Okay. Now, to do all this, to your question about in India, are our members, let's say COI members, ready for the next G? So essentially, the discussion why I mentioned wireless, very often we forget the importance of the wire line part in the wireless network. So for India to be prepared for 6G, there is a lot of focus that should be given, and the investments for developing a wire line network which is predominantly optical fiber. So to lay out optical fiber in India is very expensive. And also you don't get permissions. So the right-of-way permissions. So one of the things we've been asking the Department of Telecom is to launch a digital readiness index of states. So you have a ranking index of states. Then when a state does, invest in Orissa, happening Haryana, amazing Bengal. So then any investor would see where do you stand, so that, unless you have the digital infrastructure ready, whether it is for 5G or 6G, for future. Because for India, the important part is, you want to be, let's say, what's that, Viksit Bharat. Will you be able to deliver as much education to your citizens through more schools. You already see the transition that COVID enabled in delivering education through technology, wireless technologies or through videos. And now with AI, you can deliver it in local language. So coming back to the point about infrastructure, very important to dwell on the wireline infrastructure. Maybe later one can talk about the satellite part, right? The other thing is, today we have 30 lakh base stations. I mean, essentially, how do I reach this? You have to have a radio up there on the tower, right? Now, as you're going in 5G, the network which was on the rooftop with higher frequency has to come down and merge into street furniture. Because the distance over which the higher 5G or 6G airways will travel will be shorter. And I have to move it inside buildings. 80% of the data is consumed, let's say, inside a building at place of rest or residence or place of work. So that is another huge infrastructure investment to lay out the radios inside buildings, right? So as of now, I will leave it at that. There is, on infrastructure, there's also the spectrum piece, maybe somebody else, but back to you.
Just a related question before I move on to other panelists is, how do you see integration of satellite communication? Will it complement or compete with 5G and 6G infra?
So, I find this is, the news of the day over the last, 10, 15 days, ever since these two announcements happened. But if you look at it, satellite always complemented the terrestrial network. I mean, there is new hype. Only difference now is the ability for the satellites, like I said, for the, let's say, the infrastructure or the tower which was on the rooftop or a very tall ground-based tower is descended. Similarly, the satellite ecosystem from geosynchronous is descending into Middle Earth and Low Earth. The only reason is to, again, the focus, how do I consume the internet? I consume the internet on this form factor. Now the challenge is not for the satellite to reach this device. The challenge is the power of this is capped at 2 watts. Okay? The signal from this to reach the satellite. That is the reason the satellites have come down. Okay? But they will be complementary. We can talk more about it.
Thank you, Vikram. My next question is to you, Bharat. I would like to ask, what's the influence of India in developing 6G standards globally? How can, today discussion topic saying being 5G leader, but what I say is, how can we move from a adopter to a leader stage, especially in 6G? And what things government is doing, what are the plans which can enable the same, especially if I talk about in the standard development, because who has done the 6G standards, if it's aligned to your vision, your parts, every country in the world is trying to do the same. How India can play its role and be a leader in this space.
So thank you very much, and thanks to Exhibition India for giving this opportunity. Standards is a very complex and very long-drawn game. And until 4G, India was really not very much a part of it. These standards are developed in 2 areas in the world. One is the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, which is a UN body. They lay down the overall framework and the vision for the next G, whether it's a 2G, 3G or 4G. And then it is a 3GPP, which is another partnership project of various entities around the world, which actually converts that vision into an actual technology. So the standards are then developed in the 3GPP. But the basic work starts in the ITU. And until this 4G, India was not very actively involved in development of those standards, either in ITU or in the 3GPP. But in the recent days, I think from 5G onward, we have started playing a bigger role, both in the ITU as well as in the 3GPP. In the 5G era, we actually were a very small part. We didn't contribute into the development of standards. Many of you will recall the single major contribution that we made into the 5G, so-called 5GI, where we tried to make a larger cell size which will suit the requirements of India. But come 6G, I think we have started playing a very big role in defining first the user requirement. When the user requirement got finalized in 23 end, India played a major role into that. So one of the requirements of the ubiquitous connectivity built into the 6G has been driven by India, and India continues to drive it. In the management of these standards in ITU, earlier India didn't have a role. Today, if you see, we have a large part of our ecosystem which is part of the ITU process. I actually chair the group that laid down the framework for 6G on a global basis. Similarly, there are other people from companies here which are playing role in defining the technical performance requirements. So increasingly, India is playing more and more role, but I think we have a long way to go ahead. It is still not the end of the journey. I think we need to up our game, increase our participation in the ITU and in 3GPP. Compared to China, we are still around 1/10 of that. And I think, and Korea also is doing a great job in that area. So I think we need to increase our game, both in 3GPP as well as in the ITU. And I would like everybody to be more proactive in participating in the ITU. We are happy to felicitate that. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Bharat. We now have Mr. Upadhyay with us. Mr. Upadhyay is CEO of C-Dot, one of the leading telecom company in India. Thank you, Dr. Upadhyay. Now, my next question is to you. How is C-Dot envisioning India's transition from 5G to 6G? What progress has been made in this area, and how you foresee, we talk about again 6G leadership, how you foresee C-Dot and the government as a whole play its role in achieving that?
Thank you so much. First of all, my sincere apologies for turning up late. As Bhatia ji said, he put emphasis on, we need to up our game in the standards body. But going to standard body cannot happen unless until you invest a lot of money into R&D, because standards cannot be created without the research and development. And he also said that, we were nowhere up to 4G. And 5G, we started with 5GI. A lot of research was done by IITs. And that is how the 5GI entered into the standard game. We are the largest, the second largest telecom market in the world, but still we consume everything from the abroad. So our Honorable Prime Minister, took a decision and, told all of us that we should develop our own technologies. In 2020, 2021, we were given the task of developing 4G that time, because we cannot go to 5G that time. 5G was just coming up. So thankfully, with the vision of the Atmanirbhar Bharat, Bharat has developed its own 4G and 5G technology, which is already deployed in BSNL. It is already radiating 1,15,000 base stations, serving around 20 million customers, drawing a traffic of 3 petabyte per day. It is under rollout still. I think physical sites, we have rolled approximately 83,000 physical sites, and 1,20,000 sites, physical sites have to be, rolled out. So this is, we made a base for ourselves, 4G and 5G. And Honorable Prime Minister launched Bharat 6G Vision document, and where we said that 10% of the IPR we will hold in the 6G. Earlier, as Bhatia ji said, standards, these standards become standards essential patent. Unless until you have a standard essential patent, you cannot get into the technology. Even if you get through, you will be, cornered by the biggies in this space. So therefore, government has done lot of initiative. For example, starting with the 5G test bed in IIT Chennai, 225 crore. Then we funded Samir for terahertz, 110 crore. Then we funded IIT Madras, 170 crore for advanced optical systems. DOT has already funded 111 projects in 6G. 400 projects are still under evaluation. Government has set aside 10,000 crore for 6G research. So lot of these things are happening. And since we have now base of 4G and 5G, I think we are in a good shape to take lead in R&D of 6G, as well as, setting our standards, getting our standards done. I have never seen such a cohesion in the industry earlier. Now academics, industry, operators, government, all sit on the same table, on the same page, and we have to jointly get into the standard body, jointly get this research done, because CDOT alone cannot do. Definitely it is a full ecosystem, but CDOT will be a facilitation partner rather than the pole position. CDOT will function as a facilitator to all the research which are being conducted in DOT. We are also set up with 5G test bed, which is OTIC, like Open RAN, because Open RAN is also being promoted heavily across the world, and therefore Open RAN test bed has been set up in CDOT. It's a government funded test bed, so that startups can come test their technologies, because these tools are very costly. One tool is 10 crore, 20 crore. So we have set up the lab. And I think CDOT's role definitely as a facilitator, and we'll work with the industry, we'll work with the research community, we'll fund enough to the ecosystem, so that in 6G we are not behind in the research, as well as putting our standards into 3GPP and ITU. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Upadhyay. I was in CDOT 2 months back, and I was shown a lot of things. One of the things caught my eye, and it's relevant to our topic also. It's what is the potential application of quantum computing do you see in 6G network, and how it can help or enable us leapfrog?
See, quantum is a very emerging high-tech field currently. If I say that what is the stage of quantum, maybe similar to what we were in 1950 for semiconductors. I think still emerging field. And India has taken a good lead in quantum. National Quantum Mission is already sanctioned by the government for 6,000 crore. Government has set up 4 hubs for quantum computing, quantum sensing, quantum materials, and quantum communication. We are the hub for quantum communication. CDOT is the hub for quantum communication with the IIT Chennai, Madras. So quantum computing on one side will bring many benefits because of the exponential rise in the computing power, and therefore lot of your networks today which are being managed, looking at the report, will be auto-managed, because you will be able to process the data very strongly, so that all your network, because 6G is going to be a combination of heterogeneous network, and therefore the data which is coming out from these networks will be properly processed in a real time to serve the customers, to look at the network, healing the network, changing the network. So quantum computing will be playing there. Now the another field, because of the quantum computing, all the encryption methods today that are existing will be rendered useless, because all these encryptions are today safe, because we don't have enough power in the classical computers to break this encryption in real time. Quantum computers will be able to break all these encryptions, and therefore we need quantum communication systems which rely on quantum communication encryption. There are 2 branches in this. One is post-quantum cryptography. This is being promoted by US, which is a mathematics-based encryption method. There is another way of quantum key distribution, that is physics-based, which is based on generating key using photons. So both these fields are emerging, and I think India has taken good lead in quantum. Both these systems are productionized today, not only by CROT, by startups also. Like QNU Lab is the one startup I can name which has done great work, whose systems are available. So quantum computing will help us in terms of getting maximum efficiency of the network. Quantum communication, quantum encryption will be a necessity in the network. So all these networks in 6G, quantum layer will be built. Now you also are aware that Government of India has to promote all this. AI is going to be a big game changer. To promote this, Government of India has already come up with India AI mission with 10,000 crore. Recently you would have read in the paper that GPUs have been procured and has been opened up for the startups and the community, tech community, so that you don't have to really struggle for the computing power. India has already opened its GPUs to the industry and the startup community, and I see a bright future. We will emerge as good leaders in AI and quantum communication along with 5G, 4G, 6G. I think the whole ecosystem in terms of production, we are already a success story. But definitely I will like to say one thing, India will have to invest heavily on semiconductors. Semiconductor in terms of fab, in terms of ATMP, in terms of OSAT, government has already taken this, good steps. The fabs are coming up, OSATs are coming up, ATMPs are coming up. But the good part of the value chain is the design of the semiconductor, the IP design. Like if you see companies like Qualcomm, Broadcom, Marvell, they rely on design, the manufacturing can happen anyway. And most of these design happen in Bangalore, Noida, Gurgaon. So why not use this talent and design own semiconductors? Soon you will see the advertisement from the Department of Telecom for funding for the chip, where we will fund chip development for 5G, 6G, and all telecom chips. The Department of Telecom will be serving. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Upadhyay. Just to tell our audiences, quantum computing very soon will bring a new revolution within the whole value chain within the telecom. Because whatever we are using right now will become, as Dr. Upadhyay mentioned, useless. I will not say useless is a very harsh word, but it's what it will be. So everything has to be redesigned. We have talked about quantum computing. Now let's move to AI. Radhika, my next question is to you. How do you see role of AI shaping evolution of 6G networks worldwide? What role AI plays? Because everywhere we talk about these days it's AI.
Thank you, Convergence India, for having me on this inaugural panel. So before answering your question, actually, everyone is talking about AI these days. So how AI will change the overall telecom landscape or networking landscape. But one thing that we should realize is AI for telecom operators is not something new. It had been there for last few years. And if you have heard the term hype cycle, AI right now is going through its hype cycle, and that's why you hear the term everywhere. And when I say hype cycle, pretty much delivering on those expectations as well. Now coming to difference between AI in 5G networks versus 6G networks. So when ChatGPT and when AI tools like ChatGPT and now DeepSeek, I don't know how many people want to use DeepSeek actually, but they democratize the use of AI. Consequently, now telecom operators have to think of new AI use cases, and earlier they were only using AI for network optimization, efficient network management, and traffic management on network. So in the times of 5G network, AI is a top layer. AI is an additional layer on the existing network infrastructure, whereas moving on to 6G networks, as we have seen in the ITU framework also, the networks will be AI native, which means AI will be embedded in the design of those 6G networks. So right now, when you are layering up your existing networks with AI, in 6G, your AI will be embedded in your core, your backhaul, your access network, everywhere. and it will have far-reaching use cases. Now coming to, there's a term called AI for networks, wherein telecom operators are using AI to drive network efficiencies. That's the primary use case for telcos, obviously followed by customer care and marketing use cases. And there's a new term that we at GSMA had been exploring a lot, which is networks for AI. And that is where I think 6G will again come a lot in picture. Because the more traffic these networks will handle, the networks also need to be prepared to handle those workloads. So when you are over-layering the existing infrastructure with AI applications and tools, and when you move to 6G, you're talking about embedding AI into the design itself, your networks should be prepared to handle those loads. Be it your edge computing, be it your cloud computing, or your inferencing. And while it might not be directly related to your question, Vyom, but when we talk about networks for AI, one very interesting thing that I would like to touch upon here is how will you design those networks, particularly talking about India? Where will that money come from? Ultimately, those networks have to be designed by the telecom operators. Obviously, the entire ecosystem, your system integrators, your vendors, manufacturers, everyone will play a role. But I would like to draw everyone's attention to a very interesting data point from a study recently concluded by GSMA. It is called the Investment in Internet Connectivity Study. We found out that on an average 244 billion US dollars is invested on building this internet infrastructure globally, out of which 109 billion is purely the connectivity part, from backbone to core to backhaul to transport layer. And remaining 117 is on the end user devices, which your smartphones and devices in enterprise setup. Now out of this 109 billion, currently 85% of the money is borne by telcos. They are investing 85% of that money in networks. So while it's good to talk about AI for networks and we need networks for AI, we need to move into the 6G era, we heard about standardization and everything, it's also important to reflect how will you build those networks and where will that money come from. And maybe I'll take a pause here and I'll pass it back to you, but I'll be happy to answer any follow-up questions.
Thank you, Radhika. That's $1 million question right now in front of India. Though we have seen, so one of the solution which, I don't know how big is this, it's a very small part, but what we are seeing is recently a lot of latent fiber is there with lot of PSUs like oil companies, your pipeline companies. Now the monetization of that is taking place. There is a lot of talks in how to monetize that, and there are a lot of active discussions happening on that. And with the success of RailTel, every PSU wants to have a tel against their name. So we have two success stories in GailTel and RailTel. You will, the way things are going, you will suddenly see 4-5 more tels coming in next 1 to 2 years, which will partially, I will say very small part, but still every drop counts here. And obviously telcos has to take up, globally it's telcos, operators who are doing it. In India also, the operators have to take, and as there are very esteemed people here, government also has to play a role in that. My next question, promise that I will go to my next question. My next question is to you, Sriram. You have been interacting with your clients, you work a lot of telco operators, across the telecom value chain, you interact with your clients. And I understand now each client meeting, you need to have AI or Gen AI words there embedded. How do you think Gen AI can be leveraged in the development, deployment of 6G?
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me here. Interesting conversation so far. Like, it just puts me into a sort of a memory jog down the lane, right? Automation, RPA, AI, ML, and now the new kid on the block is Gen AI. Okay, but I don't want to train through this because I think whoever is present here know what we are talking about. Just understand what Gen AI brings to the table. Okay, whether it is, AI is all about data, tons and tons of data. All the operators, all the industry players have built large data lakes to capture all the data under the sun. And today with the networks, with the transaction, whether it is customer data, network data, performance data, crowdsourcing data, you name it, you get tons and tons of it. The main difference between AI and Gen AI is the context. Do you have a context to all this data? So Gen AI is much more from that perspective, a much more human-like or human-aligned technology, I would say. Okay, and I've been talking to a lot of operators myself in a lot of discussions saying that, okay, we have all the data under the sun. They have put a lot of probes, they've put all the tools under the sun to get all the data. I said, okay, what are you going to do with this data? Oh, we want to achieve this outcome. Then I said, if you start digging from the bottom, sifting through tons and tons of data and putting all those capabilities around it, you may not reach that place quickly. Rather than you flip it otherwise, what you want to achieve, from there you figure out what relevant data you want to. So Gen AI gives you that context first. Okay, so and it's not like you need to understand Python or you need to understand some algorithms to be developed to work on that, like in a normal traditional AI model. You need to be a smart prompt developer. The art of asking questions, the capability or the skill of you asking questions will be tested in Gen AI. You can ask the same question, it will give you different answers based on what spec or how intelligently you ask the question. So, other thing is, while it gives you the context, it gives you more ability to create solutions or create scenarios, be a bit more innovative. Whereas AI is all about data mining and creating those use cases out of the predictability and or maybe post-mortem. You can do all that stuff, creating some scenarios. And like I agree with Radhika, because what happened is, in our case, a lot of people deploy networks. So they know how to deploy networks, how to do it. Why to do it? I think Gen AI gives you that power. Where to do it? And I don't want to brag about what we are doing in this space. Today, we have been able to, and Gen AI, as we speak, has already moved to agentic AI, if you understand this space. So dark knock used to be a concept a few years ago. Today, we are seeing this as a reality. I've been working on a few cases myself, so I can vouch for it. And today, the way people are thinking is, especially in India also, it will soon happen, is because here still labor arbitrage doesn't make big difference, but in other countries, the labor arbitrage makes a lot of difference. So the dark knock being a concept is coming to reality, and Gen AI is powering it. So what I mean is that agentic AI, we have created a few assistants, what we call as Gen AI agents, you can call them, it's this thing. And you can actually create a flow, and you can wipe off or you can remove the entire L0 sort of support team in the system. So what happens is, we created, if you're, and I'm talking about planning, I'm talking about deployment, I'm talking about operations, I'm talking about optimization, I'm also talking about sunsetting technologies or decom, because a lot of people are doing copper decom also. It's a big business because people think if I remove the copper out of the network and smelt it and sell it, I will get more money. So that action is also, but where to pull out the copper, where all these things, you have a lot of things to do in terms of scenario building and other things, right? So the point I'm making is, these agents are becoming more and more powerful in terms of, one, handling all those data and putting a context to it. Okay, just for an example, a troubleshooting today, I think wireless, I think we have done lots, and thanks to Ericsson and Nokia and Huawei and Samsung and all these people, we have done enough on the wireless side. But to traditionally troubleshoot a core network, the person who is sitting on has to log into multiple systems. And if it is going to be a Cisco or a Juniper or an XYZ, he needs to go to those data sheets and get. But today the agentic AI actually tells him what exactly to do it in his network. So that is the power. He has to just ask, okay, I have a Cisco router P connected to a P core router of Juniper, and this is the sort of, I'm getting this signal. So immediately it throws out a lot many, it's an interaction which is happening. It's like asking as though you are asking somebody is, or an L3 or somebody is telling him to do what, or he or she to do what it is. So that context becomes very powerful. Similarly, in development or deployment as well, where to put the fiber and where to put that state. We have been doing this. See, all these technologies does not create something new activity. It is all doing the same set of activities which we are doing for the last so many decades, but more intelligently and more contextually. Probably I'll leave it at that, but we have a lot of agents created, and we are working with quite a few operators across the globe as well as in India to create those agents and see how we can move. And the new talent which is going to come, I think we were talking about talent later, but you need to create headroom for these people to take on more work which is more human in nature rather than just doing what you call the repetitive task at a high scale.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Sriram. And the power of Gen AI, I myself witnessed because I was one of the beta testers of ChatGPT. My team had a tough time for at least a month when they didn't have access and I had access earlier to them. I was able to ask a lot of different types of questions to them on the fly. My next question goes to Manoj, now to you. Manoj, you were in MWC very recently. No, you know? No, sorry. But my question is generally based on your, you are working with lot of operators. We talk about 5G, we talk about a lot of 5G monetization, lot of use case monetizations, which globally is a challenge which most of the operators, users are facing. Even enterprises are trying a lot of new use cases, but the monetization for 5G is not that much great. But how do you think the learnings which we have from 5G, what type of learnings we can implement in 6G where we can think ahead and monetize 6G for all?
Okay, you gave me the most difficult question, monetization, right? I think in politics we have narratives. In technology also we have a lot of narratives, and monetization is actually one of the big narratives these days. But before you talk about monetization, you have to first of all define what monetization is. Otherwise, everyone is, be it MWC or be it any other conference, the first topic is monetization. Let's first of all define monetization. So monetization, is it return on capital employed? Is it your revenue growth? Is it increase in your profits? Is it increase in your market valuation? If this is monetization, then in India you should not be complaining. Because if you look at the financials of all the top telcos, everyone has crossed $100 billion valuation. Their EBITDAs are in the range of 50%. Their ARPU has been growth, right? Compared to the last 10 years, you look at the ARPU growth. So why should you actually be complaining about monetization is my biggest question, first too. But let's talk about global, you have pretty much the same trends. I think it's basically the expectation mismatch which has happened. When you talk about 5G, and I think this happened during the 3G days also, there was so much of hype, which is very natural when there is a new technology coming in. And I think 5G also suffered from the same expectation mismatch. It takes time. In all fairness, if you talk about India, we are just 2 years. The first 2 use cases are fixed via FWA. I think that's already showing results, isn't it? That's the first classic monetization case. The second is the increase in ARPU because of the speed upgrades. There have been huge amount of conversions which have happened from 4G to 5G. So that's already happened in a way. The most pivotal thing around 5G was the private networks, the enterprise networks, which is actually on its course. It's happening. There are things like CNPN guidelines, the regulatory, the spectrum issues, etc., which have to be sorted out. Once that happens, even this will happen in India. On a global scale, you have almost 1,000 private networks, almost 200 5G private networks working quite successfully. So that's already happening. IoT, another use case of 5G, will again happen once the CNPN guidelines and the ecosystem. I think main issue where we lagged in the enterprise networks was the ecosystem. The third challenge was basically the lack of business case in the enterprise network system, because we talk about connectivity so much, but if you talk about the overall business case in an enterprise network, connectivity is just 20%. 80% is the application piece, right? The cost really lies there. Unless and until the business case gets justified, the enterprise networks will really not take off. And of course, the regulatory issues which I'm talking of, I think they have to be sorted out. But having said that, this is the past. Let's talk about what more monetization can really happen. We're talking about glasses, I think, which Vikram touched upon. I think the forecasts are that the shipments for glasses and even the AR, VR devices, it's going to really skyrocket. The second thing which Radhika touched upon was AI. Today, ChatGPT is just text-based. It is just text-based. I mean, you can just imagine if video creeps comes into the picture, what will happen to the traffic? And you're talking about a country like India, 1.2 billion subscribers, already consuming 28 GB per month per subscriber. If the video ChatGPT starts to take off, what will really happen? Will it not lead to a huge amount of monetization? The answer is yes. The another opportunity you talked about monetization will be the network exposure. Because right now telcos have been talking about selling it to the consumers, selling it to the enterprises, but we have kind of always, we have never sold it to another third category with the market segment, which is known as the software developers. If you expose your networks, you sell your APIs, I think you'll start to really, once you expose, the monetization avenues will start to come in. So, Gen AI, like I said, going forward will generate huge amount of traffic, so on and so forth. And all these things are kind of, taken into account when we are talking about 6G in the future. And then the second part of the question was the 5G learnings. Yes, 5G learnings, again, I think first of all, this expectation issue has to be sorted out. When you talk about 5G learnings, the first thing and the most important lesson which we learned was that the network design should be not very complicated. When you talk about 5G, there were 7 options to migrate from 4G to 5G. But I think the lesson which we are learning is that for 6G, we have to keep things simple. We should actually have very simple way from migrating to 6G from 5G. We should have only one option, and which would be standalone, and in a very, very smooth and in a very, very, not doing the forklift in that sense.
Yeah. No, I think I just wanted to add something on the learnings part, Manoj. One very interesting thing, when 5G was launched, everyone was talking about the killer use case. No one found the killer use case to date. Maybe you can say a little bit of FW in India market. So I think with 6G, one of the biggest learning would be to, now we are in the standardization and R&D process. For 6G, one of the biggest learning would be to really crack down whether you need it for consumers or whether you need it for enterprises. And from the R&D and standardization stage itself, you have to cater to the design and communication and everything accordingly. So I think that would be one of the biggest learning, because there was a lot of hype about 5G. 5G will do this, 5G will do that. I think if you know any killer use case globally, please let me know. And I think that would be the learning from 5G for 6G. That's just what I wanted to add.
Thanks, Radhika. But the things goes like, I just remember the ad from Pepsi, the Dil Mange More. No matter what you say, the hype would be there. It's very difficult to differentiate, say whether we want to prioritize customer, consumers or enterprise. But yes, you are right, it has to be done. We have talked about technology, we have talked about quantum, AI, Gen AI, but the most important part has been left out, which is the people part. And with Praveen being here with us, I would like to ask, because you play a very important role sitting in Skill Council here, how the talent part has to be developed in India. And the way we are talking, as you see, it's quantum computing, it's AI, Gen AI, there are a lot many technologies which are left out, 6G coming in. How do you see the talent part to be tackled or taken care? Because India, though we say there is a huge talent pool, but when we go to the industries, most of the times they are cribbing about we don't have enough talent available for the right technologies. And that's where the gap we foresee is there, and how the Skill Council is working towards it in mitigating or bridging that gap.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all. Yeah, basically, sir, as you told, related to that talent and development, what we are being thinking on that particular part, basically, if you see the entire ecosystem of that particular telco, so like start from the R&D part of that, and then it should be setting up the standards, then that after that technology comes, until that time of the 2G, 3G and 4G, the entire things was being coming from the outside. Okay, standard are being developed outside, then the technology also being coming outside, and this, so basically when these are the technology operator, basically like as a Nokia, Ericsson, ITU, all these are being bringing the entire technology from the outside to India, and then they are because they are bringing it. We were being quite on that particular part was quite being left. Now when the 5G came on that particular part, so we were being quite excited, and because at that time most focus was on the private network, and then parallelly the public network. So at the part of the private network, as the sir told related to that 100 5G lab being created on that particular part, the major focus was to be on that particular part, and we were being closely in that part of that entire process, and we have that all 100 college, we started the interaction with them. So basically the concern was related to after that technology develop, what would be the use case can be developed on that particular part. We saw that a huge, the big communication goes to the all ministry from the PMO that, okay, the 5G is coming, what would be the use case on that particular part. So those use case by creating on the private network and developing the case which can be monetized as a part of that. But basically what I'm saying that we developed that, with the help of that our few technology provider, we developed that lab also on one is in Delhi, one is in Ahmedabad related to that 5G lab, and we started giving the training to the students for their particular use cases. But still we have only 1 or 2 use cases. We are being more expecting that the all technology partners, they should have to be on focus related to the use cases so that we can give down the line that kind of training. Now parallelly when the 6G is coming, and as India started entering on this as a leader, so we started the parallel interaction with the all team, like as we set the example QNO. So we are being discussing with them for the quantum training on that particular part of that, developing the course and curriculum related to the digital on the part of that. Parallelly related to, as you said, related to AI and GenAI. Okay, so that is a part also. We are being many IT companies are there through whom we are being in the part of. We have developed a lot of course also. We are offering to the colleges on that part. But later on, and all together, what we see that we have to make it as a kind of the revolution as part of that, because the technologies keep changing very frequently. So we have to generate the pool from the beginning. So what we recently started, which will start in the month of April and May, we are starting the Olympiad at the school level and that like 10th or 12th level, where the student will be more interested to know this around this technology and knowledge or the part of that, and then with this their kind of the interest, we can further train them for the technology upgrades.
Thank you to all our panelists, and as we close this session, I would like to request our moderator to kindly present the mementos to all the speakers. I think we can start from Dr. Upadhyay. Ladies and gentlemen, you can also join us as we express our thanks to our panelists, thanking them for sharing knowledge and insights on as India transcends from 5G to 6G, the challenges which are there. We had Mr. R.K. Upadhyay, he spoke about various projects under 6G. CDOT, as he said, is going to be facilitating partner for all the research work being done by DOT. We would expressing our thanks to Mr. Manoj Gurnani from Nokia. Thank you to Mr. Praveen Sirohi. Thank you sir. He spoke about bridging the talent gap, various building curriculum as we transcend again from 5G to 6G. Our expression of thanks to Mr. Bharat Bhatia. Spoke about the role of ITU standardization body, especially building standards again as we are transcending from 5G to 6G. Our expression of thanks to Mr. TV Sriram from Accenture, who spoke about the power of Gen AI and further the work being done by Accenture in that domain. Thanking Mr. Vikram Bhatia, the DGG Technology of COI, who spoke about the challenges of digital infrastructure as we transit from 5G to 6G, spoke about having a wireless infrastructure. SATCOM also, he shared information on the SATCOM network being an enabler towards that, and the concern on connecting the unconnected. And thanking Radhika Gupta, the head of data acquisition, GSMA. Building networks for AI, and then where the money is going to be coming from, she raised a concern about that, building these high proficiency efficient networks. And to thank our moderator, I would like to request Mr. Dhruv Behel, the Director of Exhibitions India Group, to kindly present the memento, thanking Mr. Vyom Krishna, the partner EY